Good morning, students. Say your prayer. தேங்க்யூ. நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book and take page number 134. So today we will move to the last lesson in history. So the Delhi Sultanate. Yeah. So in our previous classes we discussed about the kingdom in South India, that is the later Cholas and later Pandyas. But can you remember the lesson we discussed in unit 2? So the topic we discussed in unit 2 in history. Yeah, first we discussed about Rajputs and later the invasion of Turkey. So that is the invasion of Muslim Empire. Yeah. So Muhammad Ghori invaded India and established his rule. Yeah. So what happened after that? Yeah. So at the end of that lesson we know that Qutbuddin Aibak was appointed as the governor, ruler of the places captured by Muhammad of Ghori in India. Okay, so after that Qutbuddin Aibak established his rule. So that rule was called as slave dynasty. From that period onwards, so Delhi Sultanate, so the Muslim kingdom began to rule in India. So we will discuss about that in this lesson. Okay, so let us move into the lesson. So the Delhi Sultanate. Sultan, so Sultan is an Arabic term, so which means king. Learning objectives. So what are you going to learn from this lesson? So to acquaint ourselves with, that is to become familiar, so to get knowledge about Turkish Sultan of various dynasties who ruled India from Delhi. So Turkish Sultan of various dynasties. So you will learn about various dynasties that ruled India from Delhi. So Delhi was the capital city. Then their military conquest and extension of sovereignty. So their military conquest and how they extend their power. Then administration of the Delhi Sultanate. So how they ruled the country. So how they conquered and extended their power. Then how they ruled the country. Then art and architecture of this period. So art and architecture of Delhi Sultan. So learning objectives to acquaint ourselves with Turkish Sultan of various dynasties who ruled from Delhi. So who ruled India from Delhi. Their military conquest and extensions of sovereignty. Then administration of the Delhi Sultanate, then art and architecture of this period. So you are going to learn this topic from this lesson. Introduction. So during the 11th century, the Turkish horsemen, so horsemen means, so Turkey people, the Islam, so they came to India through horses. So they came to India, the invaders, so the Turkey invaders came to India through horses. So that's why we say Turkish horsemen pillaged northern India. So pillaged means rob a place using violence during a wartime. So plunder a place using violence during a wartime. So during the 11th century, the Turkish horsemen rob North India. So during war. So during wartime, so they plundered the North India, and due to their persistent campaigns, due to their repeated campaigns, they succeeded in seizing political control of the Gangetic Plain by the next century. So because of their continuous attack, so they succeed in capturing the political control of the Gangetic Plain by the next century, that is by the 12th century. Though the success of their conquest could be attributed to their audacity. Audacity means so risk and shock behavior, and ferocity. So ferocity means so violence and aggressive behavior. It was told the success of their conquest was because of their risk and shocking behavior and also their violent behavior. Their success is really due to the failure of Indians to defend themselves and their territories. So though the success of their conquest attributed to their violent behavior, it was also told that it was due to the failure of Indians to defend themselves. Indians viewed each other with distrust. So distrust means so feeling that you cannot believe somebody or something. So they won't trust each other. And failing to take note of the success of Islam in early years of its spread. And they did not note that Islam, so which emerged in 5th 6th century AD, began to spread in Western Asia. Yeah, so they didn't note it. Yeah, so they often quarrel with each other. And also, the superior military might of Muslim soldiers was yet another factor that contributed to success in their conquest. And also, the Muslim soldiers, so they were superior in their military power. Yeah, so it is also another one factor for their success. Yeah. So in this lesson, we discuss how Turkish warriors said about founding and consolidating their Islamic rule till the advent of Babur. Yeah, so in this lesson, we discuss how the Turkey warriors, so Turkey rulers, established their Islamic rule in India till the coming of Babur. So who was Babur? So he was the founder of Mughal dynasty in India. So you will learn about him in the next term. So Mughal ruler. So Babur, you will learn in your higher classes. So 11th century, so Turkey invaders often invaded India. So before that itself, so from 8th century onwards, so the Islam ruler, so try to attack India and try to establish their rule, but they could not achieve their progress. So because during that time, so North India was ruled by some of the powerful rulers, so especially the Rajput dynasty. But because of the repeated attack, so the power of the Rajput became weak, and also Rajput dynasty often quarrel with each other. So this led to their weakness. And the Turkish soldiers, so they were brave, so they followed violent method. So because of the repeated attack, so like Muhammad of Ghazni, Muhammad of Ghori, so North India became weak. So the main reason behind this was Muhammad of Ghazni. So he repeatedly attacked. 17 times he invaded India. So because of his attack, so the northern India so became weak. So it paved the way for Muhammad of Ghori to invade India, and he finally defeated. Who was defeated by Muhammad of Ghori? Prithviraj Chauhan. So because of his defeat only, so North India came under the control of Turkish invaders. Okay, so naturally Indian soldiers, Indian kings, so they were not united. So they were mistrust. So they did not believe others. So they often quarrel with each other. So they viewed each other with distrust. So feeling that you cannot believe somebody. So and also the Muslims, so they were superior in their military power. So they were energetic. So because of their brave and energetic fate, they invade India and establish their rule in India. Slave dynasty. So 1206 to 1290 AD. Muslim rule in India was established by Muhammad Ghori in 12th century AD. So Muslim rule in India was established by Muhammad of Ghori. So Muhammad of Ghori in the second battle of Tarain, so defeat Prithviraj Chauhan. And he established the Muslim rule in India in the year. So when did the battle of Tarain took place? 1192 AD. As he had no sons, he nurtured. So nurtured means so to look after. So he had no son. So in order to look after the places he captured, there were special slaves called as bandagan. So bandagan means a Persian term used for slaves purchased for military service. So he nurtured. He initiated so special slaves called bandagan. So these slaves were posted as governors, and they were later raised to the status of sultan. So Muhammad of Ghori had no sons. So in order to look after his captured places, he appointed the slaves, that is called as bandagan. So posted as the governors, and they were later raised to the status of sultan. So after Ghori's death in 1206 AD, one of his slaves, Qutbuddin Aibak, who had been left behind by Muhammad Ghori to govern the territories he had conquered in Indian subcontinent, proclaimed himself the ruler of the Turkish territories in India. So Muhammad of Ghori had no sons. So he appointed slaves as the governors to the places captured by him. So these slaves later raised to the status of sultan. So Muhammad of Ghori died in the year 1206 AD. So after his death, Qutbuddin Aibak, so who was appointed as the governor of the Indian territories, so proclaimed himself as the Sultan of India. So he laid the foundation of the slave dynasty. So this dynasty is also known as Mamluk dynasty. So slave dynasty was also called as Mamluk dynasty. Why it was called as slave dynasty? Because the slaves, so they rise to the position of sultan. So Qutbuddin Aibak was a slave of Muhammad of Ghori. So he declared himself as the Sultan. So that way it was called as slave dynasty. It was also called as Mamluk dynasty. So Mamluk is an Arabic word meaning slave. So Qutbuddin Aibak, Shamsuddin Iltutmish, Ghiasuddin Balban were the three great sultan of this dynasty. So Sultan slave dynasty so produced three great rulers. So Qutbuddin Aibak, Shamsuddin Iltutmish, Ghiasuddin Balban. So the slave dynasty ruled over the subcontinent for about 84 years. So slave dynasty ruled Indian subcontinent. So it includes North India, Pakistan and Afghanistan. So they ruled nearly for 84 years. Qutbuddin Aibak, 1206 to 1210 AD. So Qutbuddin Aibak began his rule by establishing Lahore as the capital of his kingdom. So initially Lahore was his capital city. So Lahore now it is in Pakistan. So it is in Punjab state of Pakistan. So Lahore was his capital. Later he shifted his capital to Delhi. So Qutbuddin Aibak. So first capital was Lahore. Later he shifted his capital to Delhi. He was active all through his rule in Delhi, conquering new territories and suppressing the rebellion. So rebellion means action of fight against the authority or ruler. So he was active throughout his period. So from Delhi he began to conquer other places and try to expand his territory. He personally led military campaigns to the central and western Indo-Gangetic plain, that is North India. So he personally led military campaigns to the central and western Indo-Gangetic plain, that is North India. And the remaining place in the eastern India was captured by his commander Bakhtiyar Khalji. And left the conquest of eastern Gangetic plain, that is Bihar and Bengal, to the care of Bakhtiyar Khalji. Okay, so Qutbuddin Aibak so captured the central and western Indo-Gangetic plain, and the eastern Gangetic plain was captured by Bakhtiyar Khalji. So Qutbuddin Aibak was the slave of Muhammad of Ghori. He established himself as the ruler after the death of Muhammad of Ghori. So after establishing himself as the ruler, he captured central and western Indo-Gangetic plain, and the eastern Gangetic plain was captured by Bakhtiyar Khalji. Aibak built the Quwat-ul-Islam Masjid in Delhi. So Aibak built the Quwat-ul-Islam Masjid, that is a mosque in Delhi. This mosque is considered to be the oldest in India. So Aibak built the Quwat-ul Masjid, which is the oldest mosque in India. So he also laid the foundation of the Qutb Minar. So he also laid the foundation of Qutb Minar, but he was unable to complete it. Later it was finished by his son-in-law and his successor Iltutmish. So Qutbuddin Aibak laid the foundation of Qutb Minar, but he was unable to complete it. It was completed by his son-in-law and his successor Iltutmish. Aibak died of injuries received during an accidental fall from a horse while playing polo in the year 1210 AD. So he died of injuries received during an accidental fall from horse. So while playing polo. So do you know the game polo? From the horse. So they had a stick so to hit the ball. So while riding the horse, so they hit the ball with the help of a stick. So you know the polo game. So while playing the polo game, so he fall down from the horse and get injuries. So because of that injuries, he died in the year 1210 AD. Qutbuddin Aibak's son name was Aramsa. Qutbuddin Aibak's son name was Aramsa, but he was incompetent. That means so he was not an able ruler. So he have no power. So he is incompetent, and so the Turkish nobles chose Iltutmish, the son-in-law of Aibak, as the Sultan. So Aibak's son Aramsa provided incompetent. So he is not suitable for a country. So he is not a suitable ruler for ruling a country. So the Turkish nobles chose Iltutmish, the son-in-law of Aibak, as the Sultan. Iltutmish served as a military commander of Aibak. So Iltutmish so firmly, that is strongly, established his control over the territories by suppressing the rebellions. So Iltutmish strongly established his control over the territories by suppressing the rebellion. It was during his reign that the threat of Mongols under Genghis Khan. Do you know Genghis Khan? Have you heard about Genghis Khan? So one of the greatest warrior of all the time. Yeah, so in ancient India, so you heard about Alexander. Yeah, so during the medieval India, so Genghis Khan. Yeah, so he is from Mongolia. So he was the Mongol ruler. Yeah, so he almost captured many places. So he almost captured many regions in the Central Asia. So he was the great warrior till now. So Genghis Khan. So it was during the period of Iltutmish. So the threat of Mongols under Genghis Khan loomed large over the frontiers of India. So during that time, so Genghis Khan so invaded Central Asia. So but he didn't enter into India. So why means so during the time so Genghis Khan was in quarrel with the Khwarezm ruler Shah Jalaluddin. So, but Iltutmish averted the impending. That is, averted means so to prevent. So he prevented the danger of Mongol invasion by refusing to provide shelter to the Khwarezm Shah Jalaluddin, who had been driven out by Genghis Khan. So Genghis Khan defeated Khwarezm ruler Shah Jalaluddin. So he escaped to India. He came to the kingdom of Iltutmish, but Iltutmish refused to give shelter to him. So that Genghis Khan didn't invade India. So in order to counter the possible attack of the Mongols, Iltutmish organized Turkish nobility into a select group of 40 nobles known as the Chahalgani or the 40. So in order to face the attack of the Mongols, so in future, Iltutmish organized Turkish nobles into a select group of 40, so which was known as Chahalgani or the 40. So Iltutmish so strongly established control over the territories by suppressing the rebellion. So it was during his time the threat of Mongols under Genghis Khan loomed larger over the frontiers of India. So Genghis Khan was crossing the India border. So Genghis Khan defeated the Khwarezm ruler Shah Jalaluddin. So he escaped to India. But Iltutmish refused to provide shelter to him. So that Genghis Khan didn't invade India and move away. So but in future, in order to face the possible attack of the Mongols, Iltutmish organized the Turkish nobility into a select group of 40 nobles, which was known as the Chahalgani or the 40. So Iltutmish granted Iqtas. Iqtas means land to the members of his army. Iltutmish granted Iqtas, that is land to members of his army. Iqtas, the land granted to army officials in lieu of a regular wage. Iqtas, the land granted to army officials in lieu means in place of regular wage. So instead of giving regular wage, so Iltutmish gave land to his army officials. So not to the army soldiers, to the army officials. The Iqta holders is called the Iqtadar or Mukti, who had to provide the Sultan with military assistance in the times of war. So to the military officials, he gave land instead of giving wage, instead of giving salary, he gave land. So that land was called as Iqtas. So the holder of Iqta land was called as Iqtadar or Mukti. Their duty is to provide Sultan with military assistance in times of war. So the Iqtadar collected revenue from his Iqta to meet the cost of maintaining his troops and horses. So the Iqtadar, so they had their land now. So they divide the land to the common people and get revenue. So from that land, and that revenue was used to maintain his troops and horses. Iltutmish completed the construction of Qutub Minar started by Aibak. So Iltutmish completed the construction of Qutub Minar started by Aibak. So Iltutmish died in the year 1236 in the month of April after ruling 26 years. So Iltutmish died in April 1236 after ruling 26 years. Slave dynasty. So 1206 to 1290 AD. Muslim rule in India was established by Muhammad Ghori in 12th century AD. So Muslim rule in India was established by Muhammad of Ghori. So Muhammad of Ghori in the second battle of Tarain so defeat Prithviraj Chauhan. And he established the Muslim rule in India in the year. So when did the battle of Tarain took place? 1192 AD. As he had no sons, he nurtured. So nurtured means so to look after. So he had no son. So in order to look after the places he captured, there were special slaves called as bandagan. So bandagan means a Persian term used for slaves purchased for military service. So he nurtured. He initiated so special slaves called Bandagan. Yeah. So these slaves were posted as governors and they were later raised to the status of Sultan. Yeah. So Muhammad of Ghori had no sense. Yeah. So in order to look after his captured places, he appointed the slaves that is called as Bandagan. Yeah. So posted as the governors and they were later raised to the status of Sultan. So after Ghori's death in 1206 AD, one of his slaves, Qutbuddin Aibak, who had been left behind by Muhammad Ghori to govern the territories he had conquered in Indian subcontinent, proclaimed himself the ruler of the Turkish territories in India. Yeah, so Muhammad of Ghori had no sense. Yeah, so he appointed slaves as the governors to the places captured by him. Yeah, so these slaves later raised to the status of Sultan. Yeah, so Muhammad of Ghori died in the year 1206 AD. Yeah, so after his death, Qutbuddin Aibak, so who was appointed as the governor of the Indian territories, so proclaimed himself as the Sultan of India. Yeah, so he laid the foundation of the slave dynasty. Yeah, so this dynasty is also known as Mamluk dynasty. So slave dynasty was also called as Mamluk dynasty. Why it was called as slave dynasty? Because the slaves, so they rise to the possession of Sultan. So Qutbuddin Aibak was a slave of Muhammad of Ghori. So he declared himself as the Sultan. So that way it was called as slave dynasty. It was also called Ghiyasuddin Balban, 1266 to 1287 AD. After Russia, three weak rulers in succession ascended the throne. So after Sultan of Russia, so three rulers so ruled from the slave dynasty. Yeah, so they were weak. After them came Ghiyasuddin Balban. So after them, after the three weak rulers, so came the great ruler Ghiyasuddin Balban. Balban abolished the 40 as it was hostile to him. So hostile means having very strong feeling against somebody or something. Yeah, so the 40 was established by Iltutmish. Yeah, but it was abolished by Balban. Yeah, he established a department of spies. So spies, who were the spies? Yeah, persons try to get secret information about other country, person or organization. Yeah, so spy, a person try to get secret information about other countries or about some persons or organization. Yeah. So Balban established a department of spies to gather intelligence about the conspirators. So conspirators means a member of a group of people who are planning to do something bad or illegal. So conspirators means so member of a group of people who are trying to or who are planning to do something bad or illegal. So Balban established a department of spies to gather intelligence, to gather information about the persons who are trying to do things illegal or bad, and the troublemakers against his rule. So Balban established a department of spies to gather information about the conspirators and the troublemakers against his rule. Then he dealt with insubordination and defense of royal authority sternly. So he dealt with insubordination. Insubordination means refuse to obey order, and defiance, openly refused to obey order. So openly refused to obey somebody or something of royal authority strongly. So he dealt with persons who are refusing to obey the order of the king, order of the ruler openly. Okay, so Tughril Khan. So Tughril Khan, a provincial governor of Bengal who raised a banner of revolt against Balban, was captured and beheaded. So beheaded means so his head was cut. So his head was cut. His head and body was separately cut. Tughril Khan, a provincial governor of Bengal, raised a banner of revolt against Balban. He was captured and beheaded. He was ruthless in dealing with enemies like Mios of Mewat. So who were Mios of Mewat? A Muslim Rajput community from northwest India. So he was aggressive. So he was ruthless in dealing with enemies like Mios of Mewat. Balban, however, took care to maintain cordial relationship with Mongols. But he had a friendly relationship with Mongols. He obtained from Hulagu Khan, a grandson of Genghis Khan and the Mongol viceroy in Iran, the assurance that Mongols would not advance beyond Sutlej river. So he obtained from Hulagu Khan, a grandson of Genghis Khan and the Mongol viceroy in Iran, the assurance that Mongols would not advance beyond Sutlej. Balban built forts to guard his empire, to protect his empire against the Mongol attack. He patronized the famous Persian poet Amir Khusro. So he patronized the famous Persian poet Amir Khusro. Balban died in the year 1287. So after Russia, India was ruled by three weak rulers in that is North India. But the next came the famous Balban, Ghiyasuddin Balban. So he abolished the 40. He established a department of spies to gather information about the persons who are planning against the rulers, and also the troublemakers. Then he severely punished them. So he severely punished the persons who raised against him. So first he captured and beheaded Tughril Khan, a provincial governor of Bengal, who raised a banner of revolt. Then he was ruthless in dealing with enemies like Mias of Mewat. So they were the Muslim Rajput community from northwest India. But he had a friendly relationship with the Mongols. So he made an assurance from the Mongol, that is the surety that the Mongols would not advance beyond Sutlej. From the grandson of Genghis Khan, Hulagu Khan, and the Mongol viceroy in Iran. He built forts to protect his empire against the Mongol attack. Then finally he patronized. So he gave financial and moral support to the famous Persian poet Amir Khusro. So Amir Khusro, so he was called as parrot of India. So during that time. So Balban died in the year 1287 AD. So next came the KHALJI dynasty. It was also called as Khilji dynasty. So Balban, so he died in the year 1287 AD. So Balban's son name was Kaikubat. So he was weak. So in 1290 AD, Malik Jalaluddin Khalji, the commander of the army, assumed the office of Naib. So Naib means a deputy to the Sultan. And they ruled the kingdom in the name of Kaikubat. So Balban's son name was Kaikubat. So he was weak. So in the year 1290, Malik Jalaluddin, so the commander of the army, so Sultan's army, assumed the office of Naib. So Naib means a deputy to the Sultan, and ruled the kingdom in the name of this Kaikubat. So then one day Jalaluddin sent one of his officers and had Kaikubat murdered. So in one day, so Jalaluddin sent one of his officer and killed Kaikubat. Jalaluddin then formally ascended the throne. With him began the rule of KHALJI dynasty. So Jalaluddin Khalji thus captured the throne by killing Balban's son Kaikubat and captured the throne. So thus beginning the new dynasty, KHALJI dynasty. Okay, so till now we discussed about the slave dynasty. So who were the rulers in the slave dynasty? Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Razia, Ghiyasuddin Balban. And last Kaikubat, but he was not an able ruler. So then who started the construction of Qutb Minar? Qutbuddin Aibak. Then who completed it? Iltutmish. So the only female ruler of the slave dynasty of the Muslim kingdom was Razia. So Razia had an Ethiopian slave, so whom she believed completely. Who was he? Jalaluddin Yaqut. Then we discussed about Ghiyasuddin Balban. Then we will move to KHALJI dynasty. Jalaluddin Khilji, so ruling from 1290 to 1296 AD. There were many military campaigns during the reign of Jalaluddin. But they were mostly organized and led by his nephew Alauddin Khilji, the governor of Kara. So there were many military campaigns. So Jalaluddin led a military campaigns in large number. But they were mostly organized and led by his nephew Alauddin Khilji, the governor of Kara. One significant military expedition was against the Deccan kingdom Devagiri. So one important military expedition led by Alauddin was against the Deccan kingdom Devagiri. Alauddin, after defeating the Yadava king Ramachandra, plundered the city and returned with huge wealth. So Alauddin, after defeating the Yadava king Ramachandra, plundered the city and returned with huge wealth. Alauddin treacherously killed. So treacherously means that you cannot trust and who may do something harm to you. Yeah, so Alauddin treacherously killed Jalaluddin after buying of the prominent nobles and the important commanders with the wealth he had brought from the Deccan, and declared himself as the Sultan of Delhi in 1296 AD. Alauddin, after defeating Ramachandra, so plundered the city and returned with huge wealth. So with the help of his wealth, he buying of the prominent nobles and important commanders of Jalaluddin Khilji and murdered him treacherously. So and then he declared himself as the Sultan of Delhi in the year 1296 AD. So Alauddin Khilji, so ruled from 1296 to 1316 AD. Alauddin Khilji consolidated. So consolidate means so make something stronger, the Delhi Sultanate. Alauddin Khilji so made the Delhi Sultanate a strong one. So the range of his conquest is impressive. So he made an impressive conquest. See in the Punjab against the Mongols, in Rajasthan and in Gujarat. With his northern frontiers secure, with his northern region became safe, he sent his chief lieutenant Malik Kafur into the southern part, who took even the distant Madurai in 1310 AD. So after making his power strong in North India, he sent his lieutenant commander, he sent his commander Malik Kafur to invade southern part of India. So can you remember the Pandya Empire? So the Pandya kingdom. So the problem between the two Pandya king, so Veerapandian and Sundarpandian. So Sundarpandian so fled to Delhi and asked the help of Alauddin Khilji. No, so during the time, so Alauddin Khilji sent Malik Kafur. No, yeah, so that Malik Kafur only so invaded Madurai in the year 1310 AD. The Yadavas of Devagiri, Kagadiyas of Warangal, the Hoysal of Dwarasamudra and the Pandyas of Madurai accepted Alauddin's suzerainty. So suzerainty means superior power, so supreme power. So they accepted the power, so they accepted the superiority of Alauddin Khilji. So Alauddin Khilji consolidated, so make strong the Delhi Sultanate. So his conquest was impressive. So in Punjab, he led a campaign against the Mongols, and also in Rajasthan and in Gujarat. Then with his northern region became safe, he sent his lieutenant Malik Kafur into the southern part. So he invaded even up to Madurai. So in the year 1310, so the Yadavas Devagiri, the Kagadiyas of Warangal, the Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra and the Pandyas of Madurai accepted Alauddin's suzerainty. Alauddin's political and administrative reforms were as impressive as his military conquest. So Alauddin's political and administrative reforms were as attractive, were energetic as like his military conquest. Alauddin undertook a survey of the agrarian resources. So agrarian resources means agricultural resources around his capital and fixed a standard revenue demand. So Alauddin undertook a survey of agricultural resources around his capital city and fixed a standard revenue demand. He entrusted the task of collecting the revenue to the military officers. So he completely believed his military officers to collect the revenue. So he gave the task of collecting the revenue to the military officers. So this measures deprived the local chief and rajas of their time memorial privilege. So this thing, so the system of collecting revenue through his military officials attracted the chief and the military officers and the commanders of that time. So this was their special right. Alauddin established a system of forced procurement of food grains for Delhi and other garrison centers. So Alauddin established a system of forced procurement. So forced procurement of food grains and other garrison centers. So procurement means the process of getting supplies. So he forcefully get supplies of food grains for Delhi and other garrison centers. So garrison means a group of soldiers who are living in and guarding and protecting a town or building. So garrison means group of soldiers who live in a building and protecting the building or a town. The procurement prices were fixed and grain collected as tax was stored in state granaries. So the procurement prices, so the goods were collected and they were fixed and the prices were fixed. And the procurements and the grains were stored in state granaries. In order to ensure the enforcement of his new regulations, he employed spies who were responsible to report to him directly. So in order to ensure the enforcement of his new regulations, in order to check his laws, was active, he appointed spies. So the spies have to report him directly. Alauddin died in the year 1316 AD. The failure of his successor to retain power led to the the capture of power by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, who founded the Tughlaq dynasty. Alauddin Khilji died in the year 1316 AD, but his successor were weak. So this led to the capture of power by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, who founded the Tughlaq dynasty. So in Khilji dynasty, only two rulers, so Jalaluddin Khilji and Alauddin Khilji. So who consolidated the Delhi Sultanate? Alauddin Khilji. Then who was the lieutenant of Alauddin Khilji? Malik Kafur. So who was the first Muslim ruler to invade South India? Alauddin Khilji. Okay, then his political and administrative reforms were impressive. Then the sack of Chittor. So the one of the important event so happened during the period of Alauddin Khilji was the sack of Chittor. When Alauddin's army overwhelmed the Rajput army in Chittor, and in the context of the threat of defeat, the men and women of the fortress, in accordance with their old custom, performed the rite of Jauhar. Alauddin army defeated the Rajput army in Chittor. So Chittor was the Rajput area. So Rajput ruling area. Alauddin army defeated the Rajput army at Chittor, and in context of the threat of defeat, the men and women of the fortress, in accordance with their old custom, performed the rite of Jauhar. So what is Jauhar? So according to this custom, left with no other way to survive, the men would go out and die in the field of battle, and women would burn themselves on a pyre. So according to Jauhar, there is no chance of life means men. So what they do means they go to the battlefield and die. Women, what they do means they go in a group and fall into the fire. And burn themselves on a pyre. So and burn themselves on the fire. Okay, so this was the Jauhar, which was practiced by the Rajput women. So this was the incident that happened during the time of Alauddin Khilji. So Alauddin Khilji defeated the Rajput ruler of Chittor. So this was showed in a Hindi feature film Batmavat. So the queen name was Batmavat. So she burned herself. So falling into fire. So you can see that in a Hindi movie called as Batmavat. Okay students, so today's class is over. So today we have discussed about the Delhi Sultanate. So first we discussed about slave dynasty and also then the Khalji dynasty. So if you have any doubt in this lesson, so please contact me. So take your book. So come to page number 134 and 135. So textbook reading. Read that slave dynasty, then Qutbuddin Aibak. Then homework. Take page number 142. Sixth Roman letter. Answer the following in one or two sentences. Name the land granted to army officials in lay of a regular wage. So the land granted to army officials. So what was the name of the land? So take page number 135. So just say one word. See above the picture of Qutub Minar. So Iqtas. Iltutmish granted Iqtas. So just write the word Iqtas. Iqtas, the land granted to army officials in lieu of a regular wage. Then third, name the ruler who established the Muslim rule in India in 12th century AD. Answer just write Muhammad Ghori. So if you want to know the spelling, take page number 134. Slave dynasty, second line. So Muslim rule in India was established by Muhammad Ghori in 12th century AD. First question, third question. Then fourth, write a note on Sahal Gani. Page number 135. That Iltutmish paragraph is there, no? In that right hand side, last point. In order to counter the possible attack of the Mongols, Iltutmish organized Turkish nobility into a select group of nobles known as Sahal Gani or the 40. This is the answer for fourth question. So write it in your homework note, then read well. Yeah, so thank you. Have a nice day.